Welcome to the Ask Lee segment of my channel, and if you have any questions regarding magic, spirituality, witchcraft, demonology, the occult, whatever it may be, then all you have to do is drop it into the comments of any of the Ask Lee videos and I will add it to the queue. And I do these every Wednesday, so just look out for your questions. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Just want to begin by saying thank you to everybody who has asked more questions. Last week I did request more questions because I was running out and I've got a flurry of new questions, so I just want to thank you for that. Obviously questions keep this little segment going, so it kind of relies on those. Alright, so let's get straight into question from I am no one 713. Greetings, Mr. Johnson. I see the various forms and names utilized with the LBRP. I remember several years back, Diane Vera had the banishing right of the Dark Lord on her site, inserting infernal names for the LBRP and infernal middle pillar as well. My question is simply this: is the LBRP in and of itself a proper way of clearing space when working to achieve an honest relationship with the infernal divine? Some say yes, some say no. What say ye? Alright, this could fill up an entire video. Let me see how I can whittle down to some basics. When it comes to things like the LBRP, we are obviously it's based in Kabbalah, so we're using archangelic names and divine names. And what you'll find when people start working on the left-hand path, it becomes that opposing force to the Christian faith, really. But none of that has to do with with Christianity itself, first of all. So what I kind of do understand it. I was there at one stage myself, but I don't understand it now. I don't understand why, in trying to put it into simple terms, we have Christianity. Somebody comes out of Christianity, they go into the left-hand path. Therefore, they reject everything Christian, and because of that, they feel they need to take all of these things which are Christian-based, which they're not, and reject all of the aspects within it in order to make it more edgy, more infernal, all of these things. So they'll take these rituals from Golden Dawn, Thelema, etc., which have or refer to Kabbalistic divine names, angelic names, archangelic beings, etc., and they will replace everything with the names of infernal spirits. And I don't think it's necessary at all to do this. All it's doing really is just making people feel a bit more comfortable. But coming back to, I'll say this over and over again, coming back to the definition of demon within demonology, it means divine intelligence. That refers to the archangels. It refers to the divine names. It refers to everything which is of a divine or higher intelligence. So all of the demons are, we can lump everything into that category. So when we're doing something like the LBRP or even the hexagram rituals, the middle pillar, etc., it works with Kabbalistic concepts, and therefore, as I said, works with the archangelic forces, works with the divine names of God, etc., etc. Do we need to replace those names with other beings, names of beings, which come from the same area, really. I mean, Kabbalah comes from the Hebrew, and if you go back into history, you're looking at an area of the world which revolves around Babylon, Sumeria, Mesopotamia, Egypt, and such areas. And when we look at most of the deities which fall into the pantheon of demonolatry, we're looking at areas like Sumeria, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Babylon, etc., etc. So the problem is that these names of the divine names of God, the archangels, the angels, etc., get associated with Christianity, but this is all pre-Christian. It's got nothing to do with Christianity or Catholicism. So, when we're working with these intelligences, we are working with them in a particular manner in order to elevate our vibration, elevate our frequency. And that's what we're doing with things like the LBRP and the middle pillar. What you're doing, you're not actually kind of clearing a space. You're not pushing things out. You are actually elevating your frequency or your vibration to a higher level than those lower entity beings. Therefore, once you do that, because usually, if you're just mucking about, you're not doing any kind of practice, and you're going through your day and you're picking up sludge and negative energy and whatnot, you are vibrating at the same level as those low vibrational entities, the parasites, the imposter spirits, the succubi, the incubi, etc. So when you do these practices, you start to elevate your vibration. Once you elevate your vibration, they're not on the same frequency. They're not on the same radio station. So that's what you're doing with the LBRP, middle pillar, hexagram rituals, all of those rituals. You are elevating your vibration. That's the whole purpose of these things. And banishing rites is really just raising your vibration, raising your frequency. So it's a bit of a shift in thought, because I used to think that when I'm doing a banishing rite, I'm pushing all of the negative stuff away from me and clearing my space, and that's quite often how it's described. So it's no wonder that we think that way. But really, it's about raising your vibration so that you are no longer in the same vibrational state as those negative energies and negative entities. You are above it. So that's really what the LBRP and all of those rituals are for. So I don't see a necessity to change those, because they are old. They have been around since the early 1900s. So they've been worked for at least a century by thousands upon thousands of people. And that gives it energy, that gives it power, because when you do a ritual which is old, which has been done for 100 years or hundreds of years, and has been done by many, many, many people, then you also tap into the energy, with the collective energy which has been gathered with that ritual. So when you're doing that ritual, you are tapping into that energy and it becomes more potent. Now, if somebody takes it and completely changes it, then it becomes new. And therefore, we don't have that collective energy which we would have previously with the original ritual. So, I would stick to using the LBRP, and there's no harm in doing things like the LBRP or the middle pillar as they are assigned within the Golden Dawn. For when you're working with demons and spirits that fall under the pantheon of demonolatry, I don't see why we shouldn't, because they're all divine intelligences. But anyway, that's my opinion. You asked what my opinion was, so there it is. Okay, so I think that sort of covers that. Alright, so next one is from Amenhotep V6699. Are the demons the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim? Okay. When it comes to the Watchers and the Nephilim, I don't have a huge amount of knowledge. It's not really an area I personally focus on. However, when we're talking about the Nephilim, yes, a lot of people will say that they are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, or demons. Some demons, not all of them. We have the jinn as well, and the spirits of the Goetia are considered to be jinn. So we have kind of that race or class of spirits. But the Nephilim could form one group of demonic beings. And again, coming back to what is a demon, we've really got to examine what a demon is. It's not what the Christian faith says it is. So, when we're talking about the demonic forces, it covers a lot of spirits. Now, the Nephilim, there's a couple stories there. The Nephilim are basically the offspring of the Watchers. So the Watchers were a group of angels who came down to earth to watch humankind and decided to rebel. Shemyaza, or sometimes the leader is Azazel, sometimes it's Shemyaza, decided to form this rebellion because they kind of liked the human women and they wanted to have sex with them. So they rebelled, they had sex with the human women and formed these relationships. They had children, offspring, which were the Nephilim, and this was actually a race of giants. Now, in various cultures, not just in the old Judaic teachings and texts and stuff, but throughout the world there are stories of an ancient race of giants. So it's not, it is something which a lot of different cultures speak of. And again, this is pre-Christian, so don't even relate this to Christianity. This is way before Christianity. The Book of Enoch, the Book of Noah, and such texts were, I think I read recently, they were written roughly round about 400 BCE. So, long time before Christ was even thought of. So, where was I? Okay, so the Watchers the Nephilim are the offspring of the Watchers. And some stories or tales say that some of the Watchers were like really, they were very powerful beings. They were incredibly intelligent. Some of them wanted to use this power and this knowledge for good, and many of the others just wanted to go rape, fornicate, just cause havoc and become an absolute nuisance to the world. And this is why the Great Flood came about. Now, some tales will say that God was annoyed with the whole thing, the rebellion of the Watchers, and this race of abominable beings, and it wasn't meant to be, therefore it was supposed to, it got wiped out, and it got wiped out with the flood. And the Watchers were put in the 4 quarters of the earth. Another tale actually states that the Watchers themselves decided to come together and wipe out their offspring because they saw the havoc and the pain and the destruction that the Nephilim were causing. So they came together, they kind of rallied their forces and their own powers and caused massive earthquakes and great rains and floods, and therefore we had the Great Flood. So there's various different tales that come out of that. But coming back to the question, are the demons the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim? I would say some are, probably. I don't work with them myself. There are also a lot of people believe that they are the reincarnation of the Nephilim. There are some people that believe they are the reincarnation of some of the jinn and other spirits, and even the fae. Don't discount it, but it's a bit difficult to kind of prove, and I think a lot of people kind of just want to claim to be something they're not really, but it just makes them feel better about themselves. But yeah, I would say that some of the demonic forces, some of the spirits out there that we can work with would be the Nephilim. I would consider this particular group of spirits to be quite destructive. They were destructive when they were on Earth, so there's no reason why they wouldn't now be destructive, just because they are in spirit form. So, why I don't work with them, I just, I don't really have any use for them myself. Let me just try and go back. There we go. Okay. All right. So next question is from Rev5396. Hi Lee, I have a question about the difference, if there is one, between invoking an entity on purpose through ritual and meditating on their end sigil and likeness. Will the entity be displeased if I had no offering to offer? Also, can meditation invoke the demon, or at least bring its attention to your interest in it? Okay, so coming back to energy flows where attention goes. So if you are bringing your attention to a particular spirit, you're probably going to attract that attention of that spirit. They may or may not want to work with you. If they do want to work with you, you'll feel their presence more and more as you continue to work with them. When it comes to offerings, an offering does not need to be a physical thing. It does not need to be a water or wine or brandy or whiskey or coffee, tea, or any kind of food. I'm just going through all the drinks there. Or objects like jewelry or anything like that. It doesn't need to be a physical object. It can be energy. So when you are sitting down, and you may light a candle, you may light some incense, and then you sit down, you meditate, and you're thinking about that spirit. Your thoughts, your attention is on that spirit. That's giving it energy. That's bringing attention. So you are doing a devotional ritual. You are devoting yourself to the spirit, and that devotional ritual will pass energy to that spirit, and therefore the energy will then come back. It will be reciprocated. So that in itself is an offering. So you don't need to sit down every time and do physical offerings. It is good to do physical offerings because it shows your dedication. And the spirits can take different types of energy from different types of objects, from different types of things. Some of them like alcohol, some of them don't, some of them like tea, some of them will like particular foods, might be chocolate cake, might be fish, might be meat of some kind. They're all different, they all like different things. But when it comes to a devotion, a dedication, that kind of energy which you're giving, that in itself is an offering. So about the difference between invoking an entity on purpose through ritual and meditating on their end sigil and likeness. There really isn't, when it comes to offerings, and bringing their attention, it doesn't really make a difference if you're doing a physical invocation or whether you're just meditating on the idea of the spirit itself. It's still passing energy back and forth. So yeah, I think that answers that. Okay. I'm just wondering if we should do another one. Let me just check what the next one is. Nope, that's the one I just did. Logo what? Hi Lee, I hope your week is off to a great start. Well, this is a while ago, so I think it was. Is it true that spirits entities view us as our energy versus our physical forms? I heard that they see us as energy, but I've also heard that they recognize us physically as well. So I was wondering what your take on that would be. Actually, I thought this might be a long answer, but probably not, because it really is quite simple. The spirits that we work with are 5-dimensional beings. Now, that means that they would work with energy. They are energy, but we are also energy. Everything is energy. We just create this consensual reality where we see physical forms as we see them. But because they are on the fifth or are fifth dimensional beings, they would see everything in that form of energy. Just as if we go down to a being which would be a 1-dimensional being, they cannot see a 2-dimensional being. A 2-dimensional being cannot see a 3-dimensional being, etc., etc., etc. So yes, the spirits would see us as energy bodies, and therefore they would also see us as physical forms if they wanted to. I don't think there would be any reason for that, but they could. Just as we can see a 3-dimensional object, we can also see a 2-dimensional object and a 1-dimensional object. So we can see through all those different dimensions. The 5-dimensional beings would be able to see us in a 5-dimensional state, a 4-dimensional state, etc., etc. So yes, I would say definitely. Going back, there we go. Alright, so the next one is from Jism1399. Hello Lee, question, what are your thoughts if you had a medium, for example, do the demon spirit communication for you, a sort of translator in the middle of a conversation? Would this be a good idea? What are your thoughts on it? It's if you actually do go into the old grimoires, the medieval grimoires, quite often you work with 2 people. One is the invocator or the evocator, the exorcist, the one who is standing there reciting all the things, and then the second person is the seer. So they act as the medium. If you refer to John Dee and Edward Kelly, Edward Kelly was the seer. So you get a lot of work that you can do where you work with 2 people. One is doing the invocation or the evocation, and the other one is doing the seeing, and is acting as the medium. And it's definitely a great way to work if you have 2 people that can work in that fashion. Not everybody is great at mediumship, or not everybody has the sight developed to certain degrees as other people that make them naturally too. And again, some people are not great at doing invocation work. They're not great at working with spirits or working with energy. So if you have 2 people that can work together in that fashion, that would be fantastic. So definitely. Go back. There we go. Where did I get to? No, that was that question. Here we go. Alright, so the next, there's a series of questions from, is it RCBM? Yeah, RCBM. Series of questions which are probably going to take up an entire video. So I'm going to leave today's questions there, and we'll pick up next week. Alright, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you then. Cheers for now. Bye bye.